was a radio show of the physical therapy profession. Maybe it would just be the morning radio show of healthcare. It would be this Breakfast Club PT. He's Tony. He's Dave. I'm Jimmy. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Morning.
Wanted to start off with a pretty big story that feels like it's just a big company. There's no way you missed this. We didn't prep this, but there's no way either of you missed this. There was a data breach with United Healthcare, and they wound up paying. Did you hear about this? They wound up paying, or the reports are saying anyway, they wound up paying a ransomware ransom. That's what ransomware. That's where it leads to. Terrorism leads to terror. Ransomware leads to ransom. And this is a big deal. And they actually confirmed this, at least according to TechCrunch, which is a pretty verifiable source. Ransomware attack on its subsidiary Change Healthcare, and they were. I've seen some varying numbers in terms of like how much data was removed, and then how much money, but it's in the millions of dollars. And go ahead.
But then they knocked it down to reasonable and customary. It was an insurance joke.
But here's the thing too. Also, there was a switcheroo. Apparently, this was a group of cyber attackers. I guess they have clubs too, and maybe they do live streams together. I'm not really sure. But apparently, like the one group who got the bag full of money or bag full of Bitcoin or wherever Bitcoin goes didn't pay out the other guys. So now there's still data out there that wasn't, like, I don't know, deleted. I mean, I guess when you pay this, you're just assuming that the people who stole your information are now going to delete it or give it back. But this is
real quick, I was wondering about that because I said, if this, I'm assuming it's all done in Bitcoin or some cryptocurrency. How do you guarantee you're gonna get whatever you need back? How do you guarantee they're not in your system for future, access? It's a disaster. I'll tell you guys publicly, we had a situation similar to this probably a decade ago. We have one server. We keep it as secured and locked up as we possibly can. So, I believe what happened was, gosh, I forgot about this. Now you're reminding me. I believe what happened was one of our staff clicked on an email, opened an attachment. No, I lie. What it was there was a little icon at the bottom that said, update your, platform, whatever. I think they clicked on it. They quote, updated the platform. Everything got encrypted on my server. Now, we immediately stopped access to the internet, but everything had gotten encrypted. We couldn't see any of our files. Then we got an email saying, you had to pay. And gosh, I don't know, it was a couple $1,000s in Bitcoin. This was forever ago. Thankfully, we have our own in-house, i.e. my brother-in-law, who could figure out how to decrypt whatever was encrypted. We could get our access back to our EMR, or what we use as an EMR, and we never had to pay. We destroyed that server. That server never went back online. It was completely gone, but we regained access to the patient information that we needed, and then we started from scratch again. So if a company like this can't protect their data, banks can't protect their data, Target can't protect their data, how in the world is a small private practice supposed to protect their data?
Yeah.
Impossible. Yeah, you're right.
You should be having discussions, or if not, I did an episode a long time ago about this because I had never thought about this, right? I mean, because business was analog, or maybe you went digital and you didn't think about it, but yeah, it's a sort of an open door. The one thing I would say about this, or the thing to think about this, is like, well, United Healthcare makes billions and billions of dollars. They're going to pass the costs on to us. United Healthcare didn't pay that ransom. You paid that ransom.
Right.
You did part of it.
They're just going to be like, oh, we have to do more audits now.
Yeah. Right. All right. So the format's going to go one big story. I thought that was a big story this week, and I just wanted to bring it up just to make sure people knew about that.
Now, my question for you guys, have you heard, I've seen in Facebook, I was not affected. I use Office Ally as my clearinghouse. We submit claims to United Healthcare and all third-party payers. We didn't see anything. We didn't have a problem with submitting claims. We didn't see any interruptions in payments. We had no direct effect from this. But I have heard of other therapists that are like, I can't get claims submitted. It's 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. I haven't been able to submit a claim. That's going to put a major crunch on cash flow for them. Have you guys heard anything?
No.
People were talking. I'd seen some chatter about it, or what are we going to be able to do? It's going to cause delays, and cash flow for a small organization could be crippling.
Yeah.
Especially if UHC is like, 25 or 40% of their patients in the revenue.
Right. All right. So, Dave, you wanted to go all GQ on us this morning. What do we got going there?
Yes, GQ, baby. This was just published March 5th, so like 2 days ago. And this was I saw this from Joe Simon. He posted this. He's a practice owner. He posted this on LinkedIn. And so then I shared it with you guys. So the title of the GQ article, here we go. Jimmy sharing the screen if you're watching the live stream on YouTube. If you put off seeing a physical therapist until you're in pain, you're doing it wrong. And it looks like, I think the writer is like a trainer. He's not a physical therapist, but he's also not a traditional journalist. I looked him up on Instagram, but it's very well written in terms of, let me just go over, there's like 5 or 6 points or something. So, like number one, you don't need a physician's referral, all the stuff that we've been, trying to preach and teach the public. Number two, stop the problem before it starts. Number three, it helps make you a robust, targeted training program. Number four, you'll develop a better relationship with your body. Number five, hard workouts are physical therapy too. Number six, you'll know how to use those gadgets. So like if you buy things at home for like the massage gun and any of those other, tools and gadgets. And I like the very last line, the last sentence or two. Take it from someone who thought injuries and aches would also sideline them. Go try out a physical therapist. Your health, fitness, and performance will thank you. And I think it's a great piece that is just good, solid marketing for physical therapists. And it's basically like a direct access, bump. I don't know what you guys, I know Tony posted or shared some piece of content similar to this in the past. I don't know what you guys think of this. I think it's great. Although at the end of the day, like it would be even better if it was a physical therapist or a practice owner writing this, but I don't know if there's any issue, if that's like too biased. I don't know.
All right. I did a thing with a past employer. I worked for Mount Sinai Hospital, and a report similar to this came out about how great physical therapy was and how it's a better alternative to surgery. And I actually got in trouble for this. I don't know if I should be talking about this, but I didn't sign nothing. So I took that report. Somebody from high up at Mount Sinai mentioned it in a meeting. Some doctor, surgeon in charge of something. I saw it. I heard it on the meeting. I was like, I'm going to do something about this because this higher up guy, I'm going to take his information. So I took the link. I contacted one of our surgeons, and I said I wanted him to comment on the report. Here's why. A physical therapist talking about how great physical therapy is like you talking about how great you are. I went with the angle, which is, tell me, do you agree with this report or not? So I had a surgeon doing it. So I love the fact that Joe, right? Joe isn't a physical therapist, because I think this is the second level of marketing. It was taught to me in football terms. The offensive defensive line where they're butting into each other. Well, that's you talking about you pitching your products. To get past that line and into the secondary is when other people, using that Seth Godin term, I know we all love Seth Godin, remarkable. Joe just made what we did remarkable, worthy of making a remark about on GQ. I mean, so to me, I love the fact that he's not a physical therapist and he's saying things from his own experience. So I think this is better than if he was a PT.
I don't know. I'm split. Probably opposite of what everybody would assume I would say. I think from a business perspective, my business, your business, offering these things are great. Like doing this stuff is awesome. But when I hear PTs want to offer an annual wellness check, when I hear PTs want to offer kind of performance preventative work, I get it. I like it. I understand the appeal, but I also feel like if we're going to talk about physical therapy as a profession, the further we dilute it, we already have geriatric, pediatric, we already have neuro and ortho. We already have so many variables under the umbrella of, quote, physical therapy, right, that I think this just further dilutes it even more. I would rather have my knowledge as a physical therapist and then be a strength and conditioning specialist like I used to be, or a performance coach or whatever. I don't know. I think if we want to have the public understand who we are, what we do as a profession, the further we dilute it, the harder it's going to be to do that. But like I said, that doesn't mean that I don't think PTs are great at doing this stuff. I don't think that, PTs have immense value to deliver. I just know that when somebody says you're a physical therapist, and this goes to the video I shared yesterday, it's like, okay, well, as soon as I tie physical therapy to whatever I do, instantly it goes to insurance reimbursement. Why would I ever pay for it? Even within my own family who knows what I do, who knows the knowledge base, who knows that I used to be a strength and conditioning specialist and had a personal training studio and all that stuff. They're like, I'm going to go see Tony. Why would I ever pay for that? Insurance pays for that. It's too hard to bring everything under the brand physical therapy.
It is.
So it's tough.
Yeah. Where do we want to go next? We want to go to to Tony's story.
Yes, let's do that. And then I want to hear Jimmy's talk about unions, because I think we all kind of have some different perspectives about that.
Go ahead. All right.
So Jimmy, I sent you the link. If you want to pull that up, ATI put out their quarterly report, their results for the fourth quarter of 2023. And if you scroll down, I'm not looking at Jimmy's screen, so I don't know what you guys can see, but there's the ATI logo. And then we scroll down, it says fourth quarter 2023. I think there's some interesting numbers that we can pull out of this for anybody, either mobile provider or brick and mortar clinic. This is what I used to do. I would benchmark myself against US Physical Therapy because they were a publicly traded company. If we look at this, we can see net revenue for ATI had risen. Not a ton, 2.4% quarter over quarter, 13% year over year. 13% still pretty good for any company growing their revenue. Side note, US Physical Therapy announced a dividend. I think they raised their dividend. So these companies aren't doing bad, and these companies, although most of us like to maul and attack these companies, call them mills, they're full of great therapists who want to do a great job. And we can see that these companies are still profitable. Yeah. What I find interesting is as you scroll down, visits per day. So they kicked out 24,000 visits compared to 23,000 previous quarter. Per clinic, they're doing 27 visits per day, which was up compared to 25.9. So one extra visit a day. But I think it gives us an interesting number to see what a typical ATI clinic is doing. Rate per visit. So their average rate is $108, which is down just a little bit from $109 the previous quarter. But when we're looking at insurance reimbursement, third-party regulation, reimbursement declines, all of that, they're still averaging $108 per visit. So salaries and related costs, PT salaries, how much does it cost to deliver the service, right? Cost per visit, $56.56 compared to previous quarter, $57.40.
Yeah.
My cost to deliver a therapy visit, about $72. So they're crushing me on the cost side, but they have economy of scale. They have high volume. I pay way too much to deliver a physical therapy visit because I don't have the volume that they have. I don't have the spread the cost like they can spread, and so this goes back to questions about if they can do it cheaper and they can do it better, why not let them do more of it? We can talk about that another time. Last one here, rents, clinic supplies, labor, PT rent and other clinics, $57,000 compared to $57,000. Not much change there. I would have thought inflation would have driven that number up, but I guess it's just quarter over quarter.
Yeah.
So really interesting stuff. You guys have any questions?
I had a discussion. I like to poke things. You guys like to poke things. That's what social media is for. It's like, let's get to the edges, right? So I asked, and this wasn't related to ATI. This was a year ago. And it was a great discussion. I got to sit back and watch. And the discussion was, hey, nobody wants to work for a PT mill. I said, what is it? Like where's the line tell me what that is. Well, you know it when you see it. I'm like, that's bull. You explain that to me. And so often big companies, not just limited to ATI, but US Physical Therapy or Athletico, a lot of these large companies get labeled as that because they're huge, right? So then I've asked before, is this like the New York Yankee effect? The Yankees couldn't buy a win in the 80s. with my boy Don Mattingly there. Then they win, and then everybody says rejoice. Oh, the Yankees finally got one. They start winning, and then everybody hates them. And Alex Hormozy had a great line, and see if it rings true for you. And he said, everybody wants you to do better, just not better than them. True. And I thought that resonated. So I think people, because, and in full disclosure, ATI sponsors my podcast. And I just went to CSM and did a bunch of interviews at their booth. And here's the thing that I noticed, and I'm not endorsing or not endorsing ATI. I never met ATI. I met a bunch of PTs.
Right.
And individually, that's what a company is. So when you say it's a mill, I say, great, I don't want those either. Explain to me what that is, because what I saw was a bunch of PTs who like what they do and want to help people. They're doing it in a different way. I also thought it was interesting. It's a smart idea, Tony, is to take I'm not really a guy who looks at numbers like this, but yeah, these things are public. And benchmarking is against yourself is a really cool idea. I bet you this is something Dave has done before.
Of course. And also the $108 versus the $109, that was per visit revenue, correct, Tony?
Yeah.
So between last year and this year, their revenue per visit decreased by $1. And last year, there was, a lot more of the inflation talks. There was a little bit of the gas shortage or the gas price with, gas price surge pricing, whatever you want to call it. I mean, there was more inflation. There was more issues in the economy. How, if you're a practice owner watching or listening, Tony, how can you make sense of this if you are a younger therapist, or you're gonna buy an in-network practice, or someone steps into management or whatever in the next 10, 15, 20 years? Are we going to see $1 eroding from revenue per visit every single year moving forward? And I know there's the other options we talked about with cash pay services and other things like that, but it's like everything else is increasing. The answering service I use, they have increased prices on me. I use Google Drive and Google Suite, whatever. They're increasing price on me on March 20th. It's March 7th right now. So in a few weeks, whatever that, it's going to be a nominal amount, a few dollars, whatever. Every business is increasing prices, but the reimbursement, the revenue from insurance is probably going to continue to erode year over year moving forward. How can practice owners make sense of this, Tony?
Yeah, it has. Like, if you go back, I remember first time I met Will Butler. You guys all know Will. First time I met him, he had seen a video I shared of me going through the numbers like you do, Dave, on a spreadsheet, going through the numbers for US physical therapy. And this would have been back in like mid 2000s, maybe. I've been doing this forever. And all I've seen is a continuous trend downward for revenue per visit, upward for cost of delivering care. The only way this is sustainable, and that's what I always preach, is you have to find other ways to monetize what it is that you're doing. I can't sell an iPhone 4 today for the same amount that I used to sell an iPhone 4 when they were first released. Everything gets cheaper. The price of everything goes down in regards to the business selling whatever it is, unless they innovate. And so if we don't innovate, we're not going to be able to drive that revenue up. If we only choose to serve one customer, the insurance company, we're never going to be able to negotiate higher rates. Well, so we have to step out of, all I want to do is treat patients. That's awesome. I need technicians who are DPTs who just want to treat patients. We need that. I will support you. I will do everything in my power. But if I'm going to be the business owner, my job is not to treat patients. My job is to find the money to allow you to treat patients to the best of your ability while still turning a profit that covers my risk for you treating a patient. Because if you break an arm, I'm the one that's going to have to pay that bill. So I need to have enough profit in there to make it worth my risk for you to do your job.
So I made this graphic last week and never got to use it, Tony, because of an idea you threw out online. And Tony, if you don't follow him and you're not in his Facebook group, you can't get in because it's locked, because it's a private group now. But you talked about, okay, listen, there's really only two things you can do. You can increase how much revenue you make, or you can decrease costs. And everybody likes to focus on the first one, right? Make more money. How do I make more money? And reducing costs. Right. So I did like this idea because it was not just how do you increase costs on the thing you're selling. You had an idea and I made a graphic for it. And I had ChatGPT come up with a name, and the name is Physio Feast. And then I went to Canva and created a funny logo, put a chef's hat on it. Good logo. Physio Feast. So talk about what Physio Feast would be. Then you didn't name this company. I did. I want a nickel for every time you get $1. But the idea was, if I have a relationship with a human as a physical therapist or as a human being, right? And this person trusts me, what other problems could I solve for this person? Because all the numbers we're talking about with ATI or anything in your business is the cost to acquire a customer is expensive, likely to go up. It's harder and harder. It's a noisier world. But if you make that connection, how else can you not sell them or get money? How else can you serve them? And now we get to use a couple different versions of the word serve, because Tony's idea revolved around food.
Gosh, I don't even remember this. You tell me more about it. What are you thinking?
You had a picture in your trunk and you were taking food out.
Oh,
The idea is
okay.
you work with older adults. There's a thing called Instacart or DoorDash. This is a problem. If you work with older adults, you also talked about different ways. I'll just keep talking until you want to jump in and remind me.
I got it.
You could make it functional. You could make this thing a real problem into real solutions.
Yeah. So this is where you find that marriage between what you love, what you're passionate about, and which of those passions serves the customer best. So for me, I love cooking. I love shopping. I will go to the supermarket every single day, even if I don't have to, just because I enjoy the experience of picking food out and preparing the food and serving it to my family. I'll cook 3 meals. Last night, I cooked a different dinner for every person in the house because they wanted something different. I totally love it. Totally fine. So if I was a mobile therapist today, which I've done mobile therapy visits still to this day, I'm always looking at, if I'm going to come here and Medicare is going to pay me for this, whatever the rate is going to be, what else can I deliver to this human to help improve the experience that I'm delivering? And so a big one to me was, obviously here in Ohio, we have Kroger. I can jump on ClickList. I can order all the food that they want. When I talk to my patients, they complain that their adult family members, their adult kids don't get the food that they want. Maybe they want treats or they want this or that. So literally part of my physical therapy visit, paid for by Medicare, would be sitting in the home with the patient. As we're doing our exercises, we're going through ClickList and we're making the order. But then the cash pay upsell to that is, okay, now next time I come out, I'm going to swing by Kroger. I'm going to have them loaded into my trunk. I'm going to bring it. You and I are going to bring it from my car to the kitchen. Totally functional training. That part is covered by Medicare, but you're going to pay me whatever, $50, $100, $150 for my time to go and actually pick up the supplies. I enjoy doing it anyway. I know you can pay Kroger to do it themselves, but how many times do you have a geriatric individual who doesn't quite trust the Kroger driver, who doesn't want somebody else? I've already built the rapport. I've already built the trust. I'm going to be the one. And you and I are going to go out there and unload my car together. We're going to negotiate the curb and the doorway and all the other stuff. So my thing and what I talked about was, one of my 2 weekly sessions, I would do the food delivery. A second session, I would do food prep. We're going to cook anyway. You need food anyway. There's an element that's covered by Medicare. There's an element that's paid for by the patient or the family of the patient. All of these little things, but these are things that I love. These are things that I would want to do. And this is one of my frustrations when I talk to clinicians. Just yesterday, we were talking about services that clinicians are doing, cupping, taping, all of these other things. And I'm like, why are you trying to put that under CPT codes that don't really match what it is that you're doing? Why are you trying to reduce the revenue that you could generate when a patient would be more than happy to pay you for it?
Right.
Like, this makes no sense. But I think it's just because, and I'm there too, we love what we do so much. We're so passionate about what we do. We want to do it so badly. We don't even want to run the risk that a patient would say, I don't want that. Right. We would rather it be paid for by an insurance company, by tax dollars, come out of our pockets, so that even if the patient doesn't want it, we can still deliver it because we want to do it so badly. Just crazy stuff.
So initially I thought I was going to say, this sounds like a terrible idea, because I thought you were saying competing with like DoorDash or Uber Eats or whatever. And I'm like, there's absolutely no way that you'd be losing money doing this, Tony. But then when you said like, that would be an extra like $150 out of pocket or whatever, then now it actually makes sense. So everyone that was listening, if you were about to tune out, I hope you caught the rest of that. And look at this. I mean, Jimmy created like a fake logo company, and Tony couldn't even recall because he posts so many social media posts every day.
Physio Beast. I bet you there's someone out there doing it, like something similar, hopefully. I mean, I worked with Fox Rehab, and like kudos to the clinicians. They would find the function in things, but they would look for real problems, not just what can I bill for. Like a really good clinician works the other way, which is what do they need? It's like, well, I can't practice doing food prep because there's no food. Great, let's solve that problem. Can I solve that problem here? And I think
that's exactly it. You've got food prep, you've got laundry, you've got light housekeeping, you've got companionship. Patients want to get out. They want to go to the park. They want to walk in Central Park for New York. You know, like as soon as we step out of that house and go into the community, that is no longer a covered service. Give the patient the freedom to pay for the services that they want, not just the services that Medicare will cover.
And as someone who, my father just had a stroke, like would I do this if someone was coming to my dad's house, which he was having services to the house, but if they said, we're going to get him out of the house for an hour, oh yeah, you better believe it. We're going to take him to the driving range and work on balance training. You're damn right my dad would get into that. Or he doesn't. I do send him food via Instacart, but he just asked me yesterday. I was like, oh, I need shaving cream. I'm like, oh, I'll put that on my list. He's like, no, I want to go. And now I'm going, okay, well, how do I make this trip work? And I want my dad to be doing that. So this is bad.
That was another element that I said, yeah, I could do the food delivery. And kind of to Dave's point, yeah, DoorDash or somebody else could do it cheaper. One, there are always going to be people who would rather pay for someone they trust than somebody who's cheaper.
Right.
You know, I don't want a random plumber coming into my house, but if I have a relationship with that plumber, I'll pay him 100, 200 more because I know them and I can trust them. Two, step one is we do the pickup, we do the delivery. Step two is, hey, why don't we go to Kroger? Why don't we walk through the store? Why don't we push the cart? Why don't we pick the food? We get the cognitive stimulation, the socialization, we get access to things that they're not going to get in their home, no matter how good of a mobile therapist you are.
Is there an issue when they get in your car? Like, because I'm sure, like, is there an issue?
So, I've got a great friend. She is not a therapist. She started a non-medical companion care business. She was able to, and it took a lot of work, but she was able to find an insurance policy, a professional liability policy that would cover her being able to transport patients, take them to appointments, take them out for things around the community. We can do it. It can be done. It just takes a little bit of legwork. Yeah. And to your point, why isn't everybody doing it? I don't know. Just because it's not easy, because it's something new. It's something different.
Because everybody's not doing it. It's like when you watch someone fall down in public and everybody sort of freezes, no one reacts until the first person reacts, then everybody follows.
Well, and this is the beauty of Tony's, especially Facebook posts, that they're always so clever. And I'm not just saying that because we're here live, but like everyone knows that Tony posts like really insightful, clever things. And I want to just go tactical real quick. So on this, if you're a therapist listening, if you're an OT, PT, it doesn't matter. Not all of your patients or clients are going to be interested in this. All you have to do is just mention it, just offer the menu. You just float it out there. And, you know, so Jimmy said his father, you know, if there was a therapist that wanted to offer, like, found out, oh, Jimmy's father loves golf historically and wanted to take him to the driving range, or offered like, hey, I'm on the way home or nearby, there's a driving range or whatever. That's not going to be taken by every patient. But for that type of patient, they might want to do it. So all you do is you want to float it by the patient. You can email it or text it to the contact person, who might be the son or daughter or the spouse or whoever. Put it in an email or text and just mention it. And then some percentage of your patients or clients might take that as like an upsell, you know, cash out of pocket offering. Again, it's not for everyone, but again, the reason why this is great is you got to get it out there, put it on your website, tell people about it. And some percentage of the people will say, that's for me.
There was somebody doing a video the other day breaking down restaurant costs, like similar to what Tony just did with ATI. And they broke down Cheesecake Factory. They were like, Cheesecake Factory goes against all the rules. Their restaurants are huge. And he had the numbers per square foot versus other. Their menu is like 63 pages. He knew how many words. Here's the thing. If it ain't on the menu, if you don't tell people that you can do it, they're never going to order it. They're never going to order it. So here's a question. If you're a therapist, what's your version of the menu? Like, physical therapy is not an intervention, right? Many people say, well, it's not physical therapy, it's a profession. I would say there should be, you need to be able to transmit what is available to them to give people a choice. Because if it's hidden, I'm never ordering the ice cream if I don't know it's on the menu.
Yeah, and there's such a huge difference between what you need and what you want. There's a great guy on YouTube, Jared. He's a plumber. You can YouTube search Jared the Plumber. You'll find his channel. I've been tracking him because I know his channel is going to crush it and pass 100,000 subscribers. He has a couple of short videos where he talks about, I go into the home, patient has a water heater, it's not working. For $600, I can replace the water heater element. For $1,200, I can replace the water heater element and the pipes. For $2,300, I can replace the entire water heater. They only need the element to be replaced, but some people just want the peace of mind to know, I just want a whole new water heater. And again, $2,300 to one person is not the same as $2,300 to somebody else. Well, there was a time when my 4-year-old thought $1 made him rich. Right. Now he wins $100 in a family poker tournament and he doesn't even blink an eye. Nope. Like there are $1 is not worth $1 to everybody.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know if we've ever used this graphic before. So let's talk about this Physio Feast idea, right? Again, if you use the logo, I just want a nickel, right? So have you guys ever seen this graphic before? Have I ever talked about this with you? I talk about it a lot.
You shared it last time.
Yeah. This is what happens with Jimmy. Jimmy doesn't remember.
So good.
I like it. I keep it at hand. Why would Physio Feast work? And let's work from the bottom up. Number one, quality. Because I already have a relationship with this person, right? So there's quality. Number two, avoids hassles, reduces effort, save time, simplifies, reduces risk, because again, my dad going to the grocery store by himself is risky right now.
Provides hope, like, oh, I can do this again.
Right. Therapeutic value on the emotional level. And we're working, if you're not watching a live stream, I've got a graphic that it mimics Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but this is called the B to C, business to consumer value pyramid. Google it. It's from this company that will charge you lots of money to come to your company. I just stole their graphic because they gave it away for free on their website. I talk about them all the time and get no nickels. But as you move from the lower end, I'm sorry, I'm covering Tony's face with this, but as you move from the bottom of the pyramid to the top, it's harder to provide, but the value increases. So it reduces anxiety. Like we're listing all the values that are on this pyramid that a company like Physio Feast could actually provide. And as you get higher and higher, and the more and more you can do this, affiliation and belonging, if you could do this as a group, something, I don't know, like that's where you spitball. But this is, to me, I start with like most consultations with, tell me what you provide or what you think you provide. And then they circle or check off all these different elements. I sort of explain this like the periodic table of value. This is the carbon, oxygen, nitrogen of what you can provide. This is it. Whatever you provide, you can break it down to something on this pyramid. And then I say, where are you showing the customer or your potential customer that this exists? So that brings me back to like the menu. Like if I never knew a therapist could do something like that for my dad, I don't know if I'd ask. I'd feel, hey, could you take my dad out to hit golf balls? That's a weird. Oh, we offer therapeutic activity excursions. And I'd be like, what? Oh, that would solve some of my problems, which is I want to know my dad's getting the hell out of his house. I want to know he's happy. Like my dad's medically stable. Thank you so much, medical system and people who've invented drugs and surgeries. Awesome. I don't want my dad sitting in his house for the next 10 years. Don't want it. But if it's not on the menu, I don't know how to order it.
So again, tactical potential. I want to kick this over to you. Would it make sense? Would it be good? Would it be a good idea or ethical for my therapist to send it to our patients or clients and say, hey, we just heard about this new company called Physio Feast. We are partnered with them. We're affiliated with them. It's still a fake company or a fake thing that we're talking about. And we say like, hey, we're affiliated with them or whatever. And, here's an email or a digital brochure you can make on Canva or whatever. Here's what it is. And it costs $150 and there's no other costs. And it's a one-time fee per day or whatever, per event of getting the food and preparing the food. Is that kosher, or should it be like you own it? You say like, we now offer this thing called Physio Feast and here's what it costs or whatever. I was saying like, use it as like, there's this company and like they made this program and here's why it's separate from our insurance stuff that we bill Medicare. Right. Would that help, or would that still not be, totally forthcoming?
Go to Tony with the kosher code. You answer kosherness. I'll answer on marketing.
Okay, I was just gonna say I would tend to approach it, and it probably just depends on your personality. I would approach it from, hey, we've been listening to you. The major complaints that we've been hearing, or the major problems our clients have been having, is they're just not getting the nutrients they need. They're not getting access to the food they want. So we went out and we did this. We created this relationship. We built this system so that we could deliver the best possible food available to our clients. But you know, I mean, I think at some point in business, we've all done that. It's like, hey, I want to try this research paper and I need 5 volunteers to participate in this study so that we can prove whatever. Like, I think we've all kind of done that, but I think it's evolved enough that we could say, I see the problem. I created this solution. Whoever needs it, just let me know, you know?
I think you've got to give it a name. And as dumb as it sounds, you've got to give it a name. And it could be internal or not. It can't be we're thinking about, we're trying, we're testing. There's this thing. We heard lots of people. It's called Physio Feast. Whether or not you partnered with them externally or it's now a thing on the menu, right? It is the lava cake a la mode, right? It's got to have, as dumb as it sounds, I'm looking right at the camera. It does sound dumb. But I learned this in radio when I would pitch a bit. Once a week I would meet my program director. I'm like, hey, I want to try this new thing. I'm going to play 10 seconds of a song backwards, and then the first person to guess it gets a whatever, because we're trying to clear out the prize closet, and I'm going to give him a thing. And he's like, great. Love the idea. What's it called? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just going to do it. He's like, no. You have to be able to front tease it. Hey, in 15 minutes, we're doing the ass backwards song of the day. And then it became the ass backwards song of the day. And I did it every day at 4:20. And when it was 4:27, people would call and go, where the hell's the ass backwards song of the day? So as dumb as it sounds, give it a name. And Physio Feast, I've already paid trademark and patented. Go ahead.
I don't know if you want to pull it up on my website. I have 2 clinical examples of this, of clinical things with a name. And it helps our consumers kind of like make sense of like the offering.
Okay, go ahead.
So one is called on our Parkinson's page on our website on conciergepainrelief.com, Parkinson's Breakthrough Program. People will call in, and rather than saying like, I'm looking for, rehab for my husband or wife for in-home physical therapy because they have Parkinson's, they will look on our website. They'll be like, I'm looking for more information about your Parkinson's Breakthrough Program. They literally will say it. Like, they're probably on the website looking at it, and they are asking about it. And here's the interesting thing. I don't have any advanced training with my therapist. My therapist will go and do their own Parkinson's rehab as they see fit. I don't, dictate what they do in treatment. And it's all going to be the, standard things that you would do with neuro rehab: gait, balance, neuromuscular re-ed, stability, all the, stair climbing, some Romberg type stuff, like all that type of stuff. And in whatever order that therapist wants to do it. But we put a name to it. And then on our stroke page, the stroke rehab, I think it's called like Stroke Success or something like that. And so we name it. And when people call in or when they write in, they, is that it one?
Keep going. I'll find it.
So when there's a name to it, you're right. So yeah, the Stroke Success Program, like the response difference. And Jeremy Sutton just reached out to me the other day about, he's asking if he can model my website. And I was like, absolutely. Like, take whatever, you think would, help. But yes, when you name a program, it becomes, I don't know, a little bit more real for the patient or client, or they're like, oh, this is the thing, as opposed to all the other noise, all the other normal stuff.
It's awkward. I'm a pretty, I don't really care kind of guy. I'll call and ask for something. I play dumb a lot because I am dumb. So it's easy. But if you give me something, if you give me a target to hit, if I know what I'm asking for, it reduces friction. It makes it simpler. Hey, do you do anything with let's put it this way. I'll go back to my dad. There's a program that my dad's speech therapist mentioned. She goes, hey, listen, your dad might be able to benefit from this a little more in-depth training. She's like, I think the name of the company is this. And she like threw some names out. I Googled it. I go there. It sort of looked ambiguous. I called, I described my dad, but there was nothing for me to say, hey, do you have the speech or the cognitive, whatever? They were like, yeah, why don't you click this random link and fill out this form that's totally ambiguous. And did I do it? No. I was like, I don't think I'm in the right place here. Like, this feels like, I don't even know where this email goes. This feels very ambiguous. Give it a name.
A confused mind always says no.
Jamie Schreier says if you what does he say? Confused people don't. Confused people don't go to your website. Confused people don't fill out your form. Confused people don't listen to your podcast. Confused people don't buy your products or services. And this is someone coming from someone who loves to be clever. I love to be clever. Love it. Clear beats clever. It does. I know you want to be clever later. Be clever with the visuals, not the words, not the explanations. Be clear.
So we teased unions. Hang on one sec, Dave. We teased unions. I think we need to hit that topic. One last thing on this. If you don't want to do food, you don't want to do Parkinson or whatever. Ryan Pineda, huge YouTuber, almost 1 million subscribers probably at this point. He was doing paid consultations, $2,500 per person. You get an hour of his time. This was a while ago. He wanted to start playing golf. He wasn't a golfer, never played before. He said, I want to golf. People want to talk to me. I am going to require people to come and join a golf foursome. He would charge, I think it went up to like $6,000 a person to play 9 or 18 holes with him. Then they would have lunch after playing golf. I told PTs, I'm like, look, I know PTs love to do golf performance and all this stuff in the clinic, and just start selling. Somebody like Jimmy's dad, if his dad loved golf but wasn't safe or comfortable going golfing right now, put an ad on your website today that says, I'm looking for 3 people to come golfing with me. I will make sure they don't fall. I'll make sure they have no problem getting in and out of the cart, doing all of those things, negotiating the greens and the fairways. It's $500 each. That covers the golfing fee. That covers whatever and my time. And now you're at, $1,500, plus you get a free round of golf, plus you help people that want to golf again.
Yeah. If you don't offer it, if you don't build it, they won't come, just to go with Field of Dreams. Right. So, yeah, we talked about, I released a video about unions, and it was a little bit about unions. It was a story from Kim. And I had asked, I think in one of your Facebook groups or somewhere, I asked like, hey, should physical therapists unionize? This is one of those little buttons. This is not magic that I push every once in a while. I watch what you guys talk about. And then every once in a while, I ask the question, right? Want to sound like the smartest guy at a dinner party? Ask questions, never answer them. Just stand there and stroke your chin as someone else answers. And I asked, should physical therapists unionize? And she got on the show and we talked a little bit about unions, but I will kind of give a little spoiler. Is she talked about how she sued a hospital system.
That was a great story, by the way.
And won. And it could have been a movie, right? Because at one point she says, and she said it so great, she was like, at one point the hospital was like, we have better lawyers than you. And she said, like, essentially this was like a poker table, like, call. And the idea there was, I said, well, what did you sue them about? Or what was the case about? And it was about overtime pay. The hospital was paying them for overtime, but they weren't paying them time and a half. So they were just kept paying them. So she knew all the rules, or she looked up the rules because the rules exist, and she took the effort. And then she got a bunch of people together and said, this isn't right or fair. We are going to bring a class action lawsuit. And if memory serves, it was 5. They owed her. This is the great part. I don't know if I hit hard enough in the story. They owed her $320. They wound up paying $5.7 million because they didn't pay her. Now, of course, there's other employees. So they owed this much and they had to pay this much. Not good.
And then she got something like 15 grand because she was the lead on the whistleblowing, right?
She was a whistleblower. Yeah, she was a whistleblower. So the conversation, or why we got on a live stream together, was to talk about unions and pros and cons and this, that. And she said, it's different, but people got really, really, this is why I poked this bear, is people get very, very excited about, no, this is horrible for us. Yes, this is great for us. So of course I get to land in the middle and go, well, in the middle, it depends, right? That's the idea. But what are your thoughts? Because but spoiler alert too, we didn't come to a consensus on should physical therapists unionize. Although she did throw out a cool thing, which I've never had a lot on my show, which is a conspiracy theory. Because I guess a couple of years ago, she said there was a lot of steam to unionize nationally in a Facebook group. Like, we're talking thousands of dollars. Her lawyer from the class action lawsuit offered legal services to help them begin. And everybody said no. She said there were some people who were like sort of like being subversive in the group. She goes, I don't know if it was like from a major hospital system, like putting plants in the group, getting people to not want to unionize, but I do love a good conspiracy theory from time to time. But thoughts on a union? If it's such a good idea, why haven't we done it?
I'll give two non-healthcare, non-physical therapy examples. First of all, I'm just flat out against them. I don't think physical therapists should be unionized. We had a patient in our practice who was a journalist with the New York Times. New York Times, their employees are in a union. Anecdotally from that patient, she would say things like, this is such a bad idea with unions. They never come to an agreement. Someone is always has a bad taste in their mouth. No one, fully gets what they really want, or it takes so much time and decisions and committees and things like that to actually get to some resolution. But the resolution is always something that's like watered down or whatever. There's just, I'll get like too many, chefs in the kitchen. So that's one. Right. My other example is, so I love Starbucks. I don't go and drink like the crazy sugary drinks, but like, I love to be able to go, I'm going to go upstate to see Jimmy McKay this weekend. If there's Starbucks on the way, we might stop. If I go to Florida to see family, I like the consistency of Starbucks, and I can go in any location. The reason why I'm bringing up Starbucks is because those employees over the years had a lot of efforts, and some other outside organizations trying to unionize the Starbucks employees. Obviously, I'm a little bit more on the capitalist side, so you could take it how you want it. But if the Starbucks employees were unionized, let's say 10, 20 years ago, would it have grown as fast as it had and been ubiquitous across the US for the consistency that the consumers want? And then the locations of Starbucks globally, if they were unionized, I would say no. It would have been impossible to grow and expand at that rate. I would love to hear what Tony says, though.
It's tough. I mean, it's one of those things. I've never had unions in my family, but like being here in kind of Midwest, Ohio, it's kind of a union town we're in. So I hear from both sides. Typically my capitalist brain is like anti-union 100%, but I understand the imbalance of power. I also understand the internal, external locus of control. So if I was an individual and I want somebody to protect me, I'm going to go seek out a union. If I want to take control of my life and be responsible for my decisions, I'm going to avoid a union. Yeah. My understanding is, and people watching could tell me I'm wrong, you pay union dues. And what I always go back to is like, I'm sure there are good unions and not so good unions. I look at teachers, they've been in unions forever. I hear about the teacher, it makes $120,000 a year, and people don't even want them in a classroom. So they stick them in some, empty closet. I do think unions have a tendency to perpetuate the middle. The best in class kind of fall down, the bottom get protected. And really what it does is it protects the middle. Yeah. So I would generally be against unions. At the end of the day, though, I don't know. I don't think it really matters. It's an environment. It's going to find kind of homeostasis wherever it is. So what do you think, Jimmy?
My only experience with unions is different because it wasn't a service. It was a public service. My dad was a New York City fireman, and all my uncles were firemen. My cousins are firemen. So they were always very, very, very pro-union because they were like, listen, we want to be able to do our job. We want to do well. We want to be able to protect protect our families and protect the public. So I think it's different because they were negotiating for pay, working conditions, things like that. But they were negotiating against or with, formed with the, New York City government. So I don't know if it's similar. It's probably similar, but I don't have a lot of experience either. When I was in radio, that we did have discussions talking about nationally, because radio DJs were underpaid, broadcasters were underpaid, but it was an inverse proportional relationship. The cooler the job, the less you had to pay someone to do that job because you don't want to give that job up. So I was like, this is never going to happen because all people want to do is just is be on the radio. We took nickels. So I don't know. I mean, I think that episode that I did with Kim was great because it was a story, but it wound up being a little bit about unions and a lot about fighting the good fight.
I'll tell you, the one person that scares me more than compliance professionals is Kim. She is so over the top, and I totally respect her, and we engage back and forth on social media all the time. Yeah. But when you have somebody that will take it like to the death, I will not go near that person. I will not engage. I will not confront. I will stay as far away from that fight as possible.
Ironically, she's going at it with a couple of people in the comments and I love it because it's just boosting that. I shared a reel with Kelly Alhouli about student debt and her story about how she owed like $300,000 and had to have 4 jobs. And Kim's going at it with people in the comments. I'm just like, keep going, because the more you comment on this reel, the more people see the reel. But yeah, I mean, people have opinions, right? And when you put stuff out there, they answer them with opinions. So I don't know. I like it. I think that that's why I go towards Twitter, is you can be sort of voyeuristic in conversations. It's impossible almost on Instagram. It's a little harder on Facebook, but Twitter is where this voyeuristic nature of like just being able to watch these 2 people argue about stuff, and you sort of glean like, oh, okay, maybe this is a little bit this is a little deeper in the argument that I hadn't necessarily gone to. So I'd love to hear what people think about unions. It was a topic that is easy to get people to weigh in on, but I also think all we're hearing from is the far edges of the yay or nay, and the answer typically lies somewhere in the middle. But it hasn't happened. Sorry, I shouldn't say it hasn't. A union, PT union, hasn't happened nationally, but there are locations, hospital systems, and regions that do have that, is what she told me.
Yeah.
Time for the parting shot. What's your parting shot as we come up on almost 9:30?
Dave?
Parting shot is the programs, the specific offers like the physio feast. Send a text, send an email, mention it to your patients, float it, put it in an email drip campaign, even though I know Tony doesn't like email marketing that much, I believe. But you got to tell your folks, your patients or clients, the family members that are making the decisions for their loved ones. Let them know the other offerings that you provide, because otherwise they won't know. And again, like Jimmy said, put a name to it, because then for us with the Parkinson's Breakthrough Program, when you put a name to it, it's like, oh, like that sounds unique and exclusive. And a lot of people are like, yeah, of course, like it doesn't sound like insurance would cover it, right? And it's like, yeah, it segues it easier for cash pay and private pay. And on a side note, we have dozens of people live right now. So what would help Jimmy and all of us here, share it with a friend. There's a ton of people watching this right now. Obviously, this is resonating with you guys. I have a ton of fun coming on here, but share with a friend or colleague today. That would be my ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of piggyback on that. If you're going to have a baby, you got to name it. If you're going to have a program, if you're going to create something, if you're going to bring something into this world, put a name on it.
Yeah. And as Beyonce said, if you like it, you got to put a ring on it. So
Yeah.
keep going. My parting shot would be, let me think. I had a lot, but one would be a reiteration of my talk from CSM, because I had a lot of people reach out for DMs after that. And I was giving a talk to researchers, so I wasn't really pitching anything, which is communicate it, over communicate it. And the distance between you and your potential audience, the people that you actually got out of bed a long time ago before you started going to school and to get here, was to help people. The distance between you and them could be the thickness of the glass in your cell phone. Keep communicating, right? And marketing was explained to me as saying the same thing 1,000 different ways, because maybe we need to say it that 999th way before you really understand what value you could get by partnering with me or buying my thing or using my service. So communicate it. Gentlemen, same bat time, same bat channel next week. Yes?
Yes, got it.
Sure. Okay.
And you want to up the frequency. You're trying.
I mean, I would love to hear from the audience. So this is 3 guys who sort of put aside an hour a week, right? And we share this through various channels, and you can hear it on our podcast or Dave's YouTube channel, which, by the way, great thumbnail last week. That was a good one.
Yeah.
Would us doing this more often? Right now, we've got 30-something plus people live watching right now. I'm often confused how we get people to listen to us, but people do. If you'd like to hear us go to twice a week, because now we can talk about twice as much stuff, drop in the comments below, give us a thumbs up, or 2x, say something, or no, that's enough yammering. We don't need to hear you guys anymore. Let us know either way. But gentlemen, thanks so much for the time. They say the best conversations happen at happy hour. Thanks for coming, ours.